There's a lot in the works when it comes to the fantastic John Wick franchise, but we're excited about its spin-off, The Continental, which will hit our screens in the fall of next year. Fans have been debating about what would happen in the TV series and whether they'll see any familiar faces. In this video, we'll discuss The Continental and 10 things fans want to see in the John Wick spin-off. Let's begin. First up, a John Wick appearance. Fans went to see Keanu Reeves back in the series since he literally made those movies shine. Users on Reddit claimed that they would like to see more John Wick content since he's the reason they've still hung around the entire franchise. They feel that since Reeves is so badass in the movies, why fix something that isn't broken? Well, unfortunately, the chances of whether we'll get to see Keanu come back for a cameo are highly unlikely since the show is set in the 70s. But the showrunners could also take a Better Call Saul type approach and jump between the past, present, and future. And if current TV trends are any indication, it's also possible for us to see Wick in the final episode. Spoiler alert, we've seen Quicksilver appear at the end of WandaVision episode 5 and Luke show up at the end of The Mandalorian, so Disney is no stranger to shocking audiences with surprise appearance from legacy characters. Keep your hopes high since The Continental could follow suit. Next up, casting Rufus Sewell. Since the TV show will aim to focus on a young Winston taking over The Continental, fans have been quick to throw around their casting choices for the lead role. One of the most common choices has been Dark City's Rufus Sewell. Fans online have been praising the actor for his immense talent and that hypothetically he'd make for a great young Ian McShane. What's interesting is the fact that Sewell in fact does look like the younger version of Ian McShane and would totally pull off the part of the hot-headed and agile young Winston. But alas, any musings on the character castings are absolutely pointless now that young Winston's role has been filled. Yep, that's right, Colin Woodell is all set to play the character in the upcoming show. Woodell is 30 years old and his casting gives us a hint of how old they'll show Winston in the TV series. Guess we'll find out soon enough. Now, a possible new assassin. While the John Wick franchise gave us a number of unique assassins to hate on, fans like us think there should be a brand new villain that we can focus on, one that hasn't been seen before. The fans have claimed that the villain assassin needs to be something completely different from the norm. Maybe someone who exists in the world and is built up over several seasons as a sort of mega villain and is eventually brought into the film versions of John Wick 5, It 6? Now that'd be cool. We definitely think it's an idea worth thinking about and would elevate the show from just another spin-off that's cashing in on an existing fan base to something that's an integral part of the franchise. Moving on to Lance Reddick. The fans have spoken and they've said they definitely want to see Lance Reddick, who plays the concierge in The Continental, Sharon, in an occurring role for the TV series. Some of these fans have even claimed that they don't even want to see the show if the TV series doesn't have Lance Reddick in it. That's some fanbase Lance. Reddick is a phenomenal actor who's had quite a successful career in films. He's also graced our screens in popular TV shows like Fringe, The Wire, and Bosch, so we have absolutely zero doubts about the fact that he'd be a fantastic addition to the John Wick spin-off. While we do think The Wire is one of the greatest shows we've ever seen, The Continental with a recurring role for Reddick could give it a run for its money. Let's talk about the Twilight Zone method. Anthology series are becoming quite the norm as they pick up in popularity each day. There's a bunch of shows that now focus on a different group of character arcs and storylines for each season, or in some cases, even each episode. Modern Love, anyone? An online proposed an interesting theory for this spin-off series. He claimed that the show should follow a Twilight Zone approach with Lance Reddick as the host, but take it just one step further. Each episode should be a random storyline that happened at the Continental, and we have to say, we love this idea. It's such a fresh, modern take on television and could make the show totally binge-worthy. If the entire show was set in the 70s, then it's also a great way to have Sharon as part of it the entire time without people getting confused over all the timelines. Genius. Next up, the possibility of different time periods. While we know the show is set in the 70s, a lot of fans are hoping to see more time periods and perhaps even taking place in different decades. Well, this could actually work since we could then follow Winston's in two different time periods. Showrunners could start off in the 70s but take us through his journey over the decades all the way up to 2014 when we're first introduced to the original John Wick. But then again, maybe we're all getting ahead of ourselves and this sounds like something for a multi-season arc as compared to a couple of 90-minute episodes that the fans will be eventually getting. Fans also pointed out that the show could take place in other countries as well, which makes sense since the Continental has hotel chains all over the world. Fans have also seen Casablanca's Continental, following up, grounding the show in reality. Although John Wick still has the same genes, the franchise is now almost unrecognizable from the original one. Most fans feel that the very first movie was much more grounded in reality, and they want to kind of go back to that kind of style and tone for the show. During John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, it came to a point where every single person in the world was an assassin. Yeah, remember that? And while there's a really interesting Dan theory that explains the whole situation, it doesn't really make sense. With that said, grounding the TV show in a little more reality could be exactly what the John Wick franchise needs right now before it completely catapults into strange levels of absurdity. We're looking at you, makers of the Fast and Furious series. Let's discuss the action. We've seen some excellent fight scenes in film history, but the John Wick franchise has its own fair share of some epic fight sequences that we just can't get over, and fans want more of that. Fans have commented that for the Continental, they want to see fight scenes that are just as phenomenal as in the movies, and they are curious to see if the choreography and gunplay can be maintained as they do in the films. That's what makes them so great to watch in the first place. Since TV has a considerably lower budget than films, the action sequences and the fight choreography might not be what the fans are expecting, at least not as good as the movies. But then there are shows like Daredevil that have changed the game and proved that those action-packed fight sequences can still happen on a smaller scale. We'll keep our hopes high. Now, more of the Payday Gang. An interesting theory brought forth by a fan was that he wanted to see something of a crossover in the Continental, claiming that it was time for the Payday Gang to come front and center. If you have no idea what we're talking about, Payday is a video game that features John Wick as the character you could choose to play with. So a crossover between the villains from the game and the TV series storyline could be super fun to watch. While we do know that in the video game, John Wick was merely featured as a promotional character, some have hinted that he actually may have much deeper ties to the Payday crew. Smart observation for that original fan theory then. Finally, Christopher Walken needs to be cast. Okay, we're not sure if this one is actually a joke or not, but some fans did point out that they wanted to see the show cast legendary actor Christopher Walken in the series. First, it was Lance Reddick, and now they want Christopher Walken. This idea may lead back to when Walken was in an SNL sketch appropriately titled The Continental. While the fans may be joking, we think it would be a great idea, and he would absolutely kill any role. Nothing would be better than a late comeback for his career than becoming a part of the epic John Wick universe. This even works if the show jumps back and forth between times, with Walken playing the older version of Winston. It's perfect. That's a wrap for this video. Do you have any thoughts about these 10 things fans want to see in the Continental? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.